Okay, so the first context of what I'm going to talk about is pre-framing. And what is pre-framing? So pre-framing is a context of taking something that's happening and turning our perception around it. Okay. So for instance, you're driving down the street and somebody cuts you off and you go home and you're venting about your day and you're like, I can't believe this person did this to me. Can't believe this happened to me today. Why did this happen again to me today? Right? So it's not in the context of that. I don't want you to think that it's not okay to externally process things through your life, because I do think it's beneficial at points that we externally process. But there is time points instead of being a victim of our reality. Okay. And what I mean by that is this keeps happening to me. This person's doing this to me. What are we saying in that context? That we're a victim in our reality, right? So changing our perception on something would be, for what purpose is this happening for me? Do you see how I pre-framed it?
Mhm.
Well, maybe the guy cut you off because he was having a bad day, or he cut you off because maybe you are driving too slow. I don't know. Like, pre-frame it. Like, why is this happening for you?
Mhm.
Or maybe it's that you learn that maybe you should just not care as much that
And
somebody did
I was
something.
gonna say an example I have is like the level of just like the level that I'm working at on this project. It's so big and it's so much and it's creating all this stress. And so I asked myself, like, what am I learning from this? Like, why is this happening to me now? And even though it feels like physically stressful, I'm like telling myself it's like increasing my capacity to move forward. And like, I keep telling myself that it's like divine timing. So to keep like coming back to why am I receiving this right now type of
Yeah,
thing.
which is beautiful. And that's the context of what I was going to go to next. So saying, for what purpose is this happening for me to learn from?
Mm.
Okay. So, and we're going to get into somatics a little bit as well. So you have to rewire your brain and the neural pathways. You have to. And then we have to within our body as well. Okay. Because it's a whole computer system. So you can't just rewire feelings without rewiring neural pathways in our brain. Right? Because there's always an emotion trigger to something. So even though you learn from it, you're still going to get an emotion that's going to constantly come up and get triggered, even if you're learning from it. Because you never dealt with those emotions before. Okay. And that's where a lot of like Psych-K comes in, somatic work, brain spotting, like all the things that are out there to help us. So the first thing is, for what purpose is this happening for me to learn from? Okay. Then the second part of that is, for what purpose is this happening for me to feel from? So for instance, the guy cuts me off on the road. Okay, well, I get pissed off at him. For what purpose am I learning from? Well, maybe I should just probably not care as much, because maybe he's in a rush. These are all the scenarios you want to put in your head of what is going on in his context of the world. But now I can piece together, okay, well, it really made me angry. Okay. So for what purpose am I angry for? Well, because I didn't feel safe. He just cut me off and he's an ass and I don't feel safe. right? Or I feel this way, or I feel that way, whatever way it is. Like, I want to be number one, right? Like, I don't want anybody in front of me. Like, whatever context it is, just be real and bring it up. And then we say, okay, how am I feeling from this? Right? And if this is a very overwhelming emotion, then this is something we need to go sit and process. So I'll give an example. And I am guilty of it. I mean, Lori's heard me talk about it, but a lot of women tend to do this in a relationship. Men do this too, so I'm not going to stereotype. Is will say, well, he's not touching me the way he used to, or he's not saying the words that I need him to hear, or that I need to hear, or he's not doing the things that I need in this relationship, right? So in a state, yes, it is our needs. We're wanting those needs, but we're also being a victim to our reality, right? So for what purpose is he not doing that? Well, maybe he's going through a lot. There's stress, like whatever you want to put around it, okay? And then you sit with the fact of for what purpose do I feel like this? And then that's when you can do your introspection and really do the deeper work around it, right? Well, maybe I'm really not giving myself attention or loving myself. I'm expecting somebody else to do it for me when I'm not doing it for me, right? And we can get into other things beyond that, but for that context, it's the pre-framing. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, for instance, Jasmine, when things are coming at you at work and you're like, it's for my expansion and growth, right? There's a sense inside our body of a feeling of the expansion and growth, right? So it,
Well, there's like I don't know. I feel like my feelings are always in layers, but there's almost this like urgency to know everything quickly to like catch up. And then there's a fear that if I don't, then I'll lose the opportunity kind of dramatically. But I have also been noticing like alongside everything is like my inner girl that does want to be safe and she kind of just doesn't know where she fits in all of this.
okay.
So then I think part of me getting sick was like, yeah, me not knowing how to integrate her or she not knowing how she fits in or something.
Yeah. So if you look at that from an aspect of NLP or whatever it is, it's called parts integration. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
A little bit, yeah.
So we can tell when somebody's talking about something if they have a part, like we have different parts. And we can get into that on another discussion one day, but it's parts, and you can hear it when people speak. They'll talk about something, and then all of a sudden their voice will go down or it will go up. And you can realize at that point there's some sort of part that they're attached to or that they need to work through, or there's something in there. You could say somebody's name and you could say it different, and you're like, ooh, got something. There's something in that, right?
Mm.
Yeah. But parts are also in our body. So, for instance, if we have disease in our body, say we keep getting I don't know why pimple's coming up. Say we're getting a pimple like on our left cheek and it's constantly popping up in the same spot over and over. Um, as an esthetician, there's a reason why, like within our skin, but say it's a nerve pain or whatever else, um, there's a purpose for that because it's a part of our body. So it's parts integration. So for instance, I'll just throw shingles. I get shingles on my left-hand side and I get them in two areas. They're two different parts of my body that are trying to speak to me. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, and that gets into more somatic work as well. But okay. So pre-framing, do you guys have questions on that?
No.
No, good, okay. Um,
So you
cause,
mean to say pre-frame in as far as like that's foundation before we get into this other stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So as I'm teaching and doing things, but what I'm asking you right now is, for instance, in your daily life, how can you take those two sentences and start implementing automatically? Right? So for instance, Lori, you don't have to say, but I know you're going through a lot all over the board. And so it's kind of like, okay, for what purpose is this happening for me to learn from? And then for what purpose is this happening for me to feel from? And then getting deeper into that. And then we're going to go over a little bit more next time on deeper pre-framing. Okay. So the next one, let's see, that I want to go over is cause or effect. Jasmine, I know you turn your camera off. Do you guys know what cause or effect is? Lori, do you want to take a stab at it?
Something, well, if something should happen, it affects something else. Like, whenever we do something, um, it will automatically affect something else.
Exactly. Yeah. Um,
Like
cause
Newton's law, cause and effect.
it is.
You do one thing and then you get another like action out of it. Like one action will cause another action.
Yes, exactly. So I don't really believe in the word karma, but a lot of people will say karma. My feeling is karma is cause or effect, right? It could be, if you want to take it from a quantum level, in a past lifetime, I don't know, say I killed a civilization in a past lifetime. Dramatic, right? So then maybe in my next lifetime, I'm kind of getting my effect back for what I did in that previous lifetime. Make sense?
Mm.
Or it could be that I kick my cat and my cat turns around and bites me, right? It's cause or effect. It's not really, I mean, karma, I say karma when I teach people because then they understand what karma is, because people know what karma is rather than cause or effect. So if we cause a situation, but also if a situation is brought to us, think of it as cause or effect. Say we didn't even create this situation, wasn't even our doing, and it gets bombarded at us. What does cause or effect mean at that point? Anybody?
I think I'm confused by the question.
Okay. So say you're in a situation, say your best friend and your boyfriend get into a fight, and you didn't even have anything to do with it, but now it's affecting you because they're taking it out on you. So what is cause or effect in that situation?
Could it have been something that happened to us, like you were saying, maybe in a previous lifetime, or a previous setting of your life,
Yeah.
in this life, but maybe just a different time frame?
Yep. Could. Absolutely. Could be, well, it's probably showing up in a different
Different way.
energy looping pattern and something
Yeah.
different, right?
Yeah.
But is it also like what you choose to take on? Like, what if you're just like, I could let this affect me or not?
Yes. Absolutely. Does that make sense? Cause and
Yeah.
effect can happen in different ways. Perfect. Exactly where I was going. Yep.
Because that's their problem.
Absolutely. It is. Unless you make it your problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of my things, there's this one thread in ChatGPT, and I'm like, can you just give me all the threads that have been going on and give it to me blunt? And it was like, half of the time, the shit that you're worried about has nothing to do with you, and it's all about all these other people. I'm like, whoa.
Truth bomb. Boof.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to use this prompt again.
I think you should. That's a great prompt. That's funny. Okay. So let's get into perception as projection. I want to do conscious versus unconscious, but that's going to be a longer topic. So perception is projection. You guys want to take a stab at it? No? Yes.
That the way that we view the world is often affected by stuff that we're still holding on to, and yeah, might be kind of distorted.
Kind of distorted.
Mostly distorted.
So our human lenses, right? Our eyes, they have a lot of scratches on them. They have a lot of dust on them. They have a lot of debris on them. And it comes from our unconscious, right? So we see things from our viewpoint, which is totally different than somebody else's viewpoint, which we'll get in when we get into the unconscious, because that's really how their reality was created, was from their viewpoint, right? So I always make this dialogue of, this one person was born into a family of poverty, but they had unconditional love. Their parents were always there. They did everything that they needed, right? And they felt fully whole as a human. Okay. This person over here was birthed and raised by parents that worked all the time. They were with like a nanny, but they have so much money that they don't have to worry about anything for the rest of their lives. Okay. And these two people come together in a relationship, and the relationship is hunky-dory and it's amazing until their masks come off, which is usually about 6 months, a year into a relationship. Now, what happens is, say this person is like, hey, you're spending too much money here. We need to save here. We need to do this. We don't have a whole lot of money in this account for that. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And this person here is like, I don't know what you're talking about. We have enough money in the account, but you're not taking me out. You're not spending time with me. You're not loving me. Like, I need you to love me. Blah, 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 blah. They're going back and forth together, right? So what they're doing is they're taking all their past life, their past projections, everything they are, and they're flinging shit at each other. I think of like chimpanzees, like taking their shit and flinging it. That's like how I see it. But it's the truth. And it's actually a really beautiful thing if we have the knowledge to look at this from a standpoint in any relationship we're in, because it allows us to really look deeper at ourselves. And it allows the other person to grow in the relationship as well, right? So if we think of it as cause or effect, is that if I start changing the things within me, it has to affect my relationship. Make sense? So that's perception is projection. Any questions or anything you guys want to speak on it?
Are these like intended to be kind of sequential, like layers, or is it just Principles.
Principles.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as we go into whatever it's going to come about in each talk or live or whatever, is whether we're doing a meditation, whether we're just doing an open communication, whatever we're doing, these are literally like gold standard of what you would have to start to dissect, so you can get deeper in your growth patterns for yourself. I mean, that's purposely why we're here on earth, is for the growth. So,
It's a framework,
yeah.
pretty much. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So one thing I want to go over really quick before we go into our brain is the mirror aspect. So many of us have heard the mirror aspect, right? That when somebody says something and it triggers us, it's really a mirror reflection of us. And that it's something to look at and work through, right? Have you guys heard that?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much everybody speaks on the mirror aspect. So I wanted to talk about that in a little bit more context. There is a mirror aspect, but there also is an aspect called a portal.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, what does a portal do? A portal will take you either in future times or take you in past times, right?
Are you recording this?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Sorry.
So it will take you to, please tell me I am.
I just saw it in the corner.
It will,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It will take you to a future timeline or a future projection or a past projection. I shouldn't even say a projection. It'll take you to the future or the past projection. So what does that mean? That means that the person you're in a relationship with, I'm going to use the example of someone saying they're not feeling loved in a relationship. Like, I'm not getting my needs met. I'm not getting the things that I need out of this relationship anymore, right? So the person's like, okay, wait, I've done my work. I really do truly value myself. I truly love myself to the extent that, yes, I don't need to be validated by anybody else, but also my partner isn't doing the needs that I need met in my relationship, right? So you're in a relationship with somebody and you're like, okay, I've done the mirror aspect. I've went and worked on all of my stuff, but truly deep down inside, I absolutely love myself wholeheartedly. Okay. That person is a portal. So if we look at that, that person is projecting us back to something that we've already worked through. So we have a couple choices at that time. We go back to that time and we start working on our healing of loving ourselves again and hook onto that energy that we supposedly already healed or we did heal, right? So that person can push you back to allow you to realize, I need more healing, or we hook on to the fact of we need more healing, or we're like, no, I've already healed that. And so now it's about what is acceptable for you or not in that relationship. That is a choice you make. So maybe that relationship isn't congruent with you anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you could have outgrown them. Well, you would outgrow them and they're just not leveling up to work on themselves to
Yeah.
stay with you.
And so what's going to happen is you're going to keep getting that energy popping back in, back in, back in, which is going to keep taking you back And you're going to either keep hooking into the energy of like, I need to do more work. I need to do more work. I need to do more work. Or you're going to unhook from the energy and you're going to say, no, I've already healed that.
Is that a choice?
That is a
Pretty much.
absolutely, it's a choice. Everybody has free will.
Meaning like the stance to say I've already healed that, and maybe it's even more so like validating, like I did go through the process of kind of going back through that pain and sitting with it and like recovering it and moving forward, and I know I've already done that.
Yep.
And so what I did, I choose that that's enough for me to not need to go back, sort
Yep.
of thing.
Have you ever been in a time in your life, and I'm very much like this with partners, like past partners, is I will do so much to where I get to a point that I'm like, it's done. And there's no looking back. Like I can't even turn on a light switch to go back to the relationship. I'm just done. Right? That's like the switch point of like, this isn't working anymore. I've done what I need to do. Right? But also what I'm noticing is people are doubting themselves and hooking back into energy that doesn't serve them anymore, that they've already worked through, just because they love their partner, right? Now, I'm not saying to leave your partner by any means, but what I'm saying is that if you can't address these concerns with your partner and your partner can't start stepping up and changing patterns, or your friend or your work or whatever it is, and you don't see a constant change for the better, then how is this cause or effect happening for you? Does that make sense? I can tell you're processing.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to like I'm thinking about it in the context of my interpersonal relationships, right? And I guess on one hand, for example, this project's a good example because I feel such tremendous guilt that comes up all the time. And one of like my first therapists, she told me, I don't know what you would think about this, that guilt is a useless emotion. And I think for me, because I want to preserve and continue the relationship so much, the guilt comes from taking on so much responsibility, which is mismatched with where I actually am versus me saying, I'm doing the best I can, and then just moving forward from there.
How can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
How amazing that she says guilt is an emotion, what'd she say?
It's a useless emotion.
A useless emotion, which is only going to make you feel guilty about using or feeling guilt.
Wait, what?
Her context of what she said just made you feel more guilty about feeling guilt.
True, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Did I tell her?
Do.
Um, I guess, yeah. So, um, and then I've got like another relational dynamic where I guess I feel like I've been who I am in the context of our space together, and then she's shown up as who she is, but I hadn't seen it really until this last kind of point where I'm just like, no, this is fucked up. Um, and I don't know, I thought it was a relationship, but maybe it wasn't. It kind of seemed like we were in different places. But then I went to like, hey, I've been who I am in the space of this. And I thought we were aligned, but she was acting in a very different way that I believed the words, but didn't see the actions. And now I see all the actions all at once. So then obviously we're not on the same page. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's the same thing,
So
but
it is. So look at it from this context of she's not mirroring you, right? She is portaling you to a past for you to get, you can call it self-sovereignty, you can tell it your power, you can tell it your voice, whatever you want to name it, is saying, hey, I've already worked through that. These are the things, and I'm not standing in that, or I'm not going to allow this to happen, and speak your voice and you come out of it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah. So start looking at people like, okay, it's a mirror. So for instance, look at him and say, okay, is this bothering me? Yes, it's bothering me. Okay, that's a mirror. That's something deeper you have to go into, right? But if they do something, you're like, okay, this bothers me, and you sit with it for a moment and you're like, wait, no, I already healed this part of me. Like I feel congruent with it. Then that is an energy you have to unhook from. Because the universe, the laws of the universe is something's going to keep coming in, whether it be in your energetic bubble, and we'll get into that another point, but whether it be in your energetic bubble, if there's rifts in your energetic bubbles, then we need to clean and clear them because they're going to be attracting, right? And by cleaning and clearing them is literally saying, no, that's not me anymore, really. It's having the discernment within yourself to start clearing your fields. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's portals that will portal you forward. Now, portaling you forward is, we're going to talk, we're going to go into the conscious and unconscious. But if we take the stages of consciousness, right? The first stage is we're unconscious of what we're unconscious about. We have no clue that we're doing something. So imagine a computer, you're yelling at it for not using the advanced AI, but your computer's running on like 82 hardware. Like it has no clue what AI is, right? So it's the same thing as our brain. Our brain is a computer system. So if it's unconscious about something, how are you going to know you do it? I'll use an example. I used to use the word a lot of I created this, my house, my dog, my blah, 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 right? I was very inclusive with myself. Is that the right word? Inclusive, is that right? Or no, inclusive is all. So I was very much saying things just me and I. Make sense? Until I finished my Psych K degree and they talked about inclusivity. And she said to me, you use these words a lot.
Oh, so you were excluding others by
Yes.
using me and I. Yeah.
And I was like, I do? And she's was like, yeah, you do. I was never conscious of it. So how would I have known unless she brought it to my attention, right? So we're unconscious of what we're unconscious about. Then we become conscious of what we were unconscious about. And then the next stage is we become conscious as we say it out and we go, oh, take it back, take it back, take it back. I didn't want to say that, but we already said it, right? And that is the stage that you start to repattern, because it takes several times for you to realize you're saying it in order to repattern it. Make sense? Okay. So propelling you forward, or portaling you forward, however you want to look at it, is that somebody would say to you, hey, you do this. So your partner, your office, your manager, whatever it is, says, hey, you do this. And you're like, no, I don't. And they go, yeah, you do. and you sit with it for a moment and you're like, okay, so now you just became conscious of it. So what that person is doing is they're portaling you forward for your growth. Make sense?
What? So what do they do that portals you forward?
They make an awareness of something you were unconscious about.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'll give an example. Kevin is a very significant portal for me. So for instance, in the beginning of our relationship, he still does this to now, but he'll look in the mirror and flex and say how great looking he is and all the things, right? And I'm like, oh my Lord, like I used to shake my head and be like, you are so in your ego, right? And then he looked at me one day and it stuck to me and he said, why wouldn't you look at yourself and say that you're beautiful in the mirror? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, maybe you should think on that. Right? And I was like, yeah, you're fucking right. Makes sense? Yeah.
another prompt with ChatGPT. I'm saying, I want to have the audacity that men have. How would I say this? That's what I had.
That's great. I love that. Okay. So let's go into the right left hemispheres of our brain. From age 0 to 7, we're in a theta state. And a theta state is a dream state. So for instance, you'll see a 3-4-year-old on a broom hopping around and they're like, I'm on a pony or a horse. And you're like, no, you're on a broom. And they're like, no, I'm on a horse. And they literally think that they are on a horse. Like they can see a flippin' horse that they're on, right? It's because they're in a dream state. They're in a theta state. Now, that is the time period that actually majority of our programs get set, but we'll go over that later. So 0 to 7, they're in a theta state. Then after age 7, we go into like a storage mode setting. So if you think of your computer system, you know, when you leave it open and it goes black to save storage, well, it's doing that to save, of course, the battery, the power, all of the things. Well, that's what our bodies do after age 7. Okay. So if we have, it could be a happy thought, it could be a traumatic event, it could be anything that happens for us, we're either going to take that excess data and we're going to put it on the right hemisphere of the brain or the left hemisphere of the brain, because it's going into a storage mode. So we're not as balanced anymore. Make sense? So that's why you see people that are way over analytical or they're way overly emotional. And it stores in different compartments because we compartmentalize as a human. So in existence, say I'm driving on the road, a person cuts me off. I'd be like, okay, you're an asshole. I'm going to flip you off, whatever I go on my day, right? But say I flip this guy off and he gets pissed and he follows me and he wants to track me down. He wants to like beat my car out and jump out and beat the shit out of me. Where do you think he's storing some emotions? Right? He's a little aggressive on one side of his head. Make sense? So something happened that stored some emotion on either his over analytical or his over emotional. And you'll see this with people, you'll say something to them and they go into like, you can almost see them go into like their computer system and they're just like, just thinking, right? They're over analytical on things. Now, there's always a balance, right? I am so over analytical about certain things, and other things I am going to punch you in the face, right? So it just depends on where you compartmentalize these things, right? So with Psych K or EDMR or brain spotting or somatic work, a lot of times what we are doing is we're taking that triggered emotion, and we're balancing it in your body. So then that way, if say I cut somebody off and they flip me off, I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That is totally my fault. And then move on. And not keep that emotion with me for the whole day. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions about anything before we go to the next part?
Would you recommend any of those types of therapies in general? Like, I don't know, yeah, I'm suddenly working on like a very high scale significant project. So I kind of like my question wanted to be how can I what's my track to becoming high functioning?
Yeah.
Would you recommend any of those in
Yeah.
particular?
Yeah. So I do Psych K. It's a 3-hour session. And we literally will rewire, I mean, majority of people don't have to come in for a second session.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's usually how it should be. Unless they have really deeper work that, somebody's had a really traumatic upbringing. Um, I really like brain spotting as well.
okay.
The only thing that I have to say is I really believe it depends on your facilitator,
Okay.
because if they don't have a lot of education in somatic work, feeling, we can't go in and release something in your brain if we don't release it emotionally. There's no way. So EDMR and stuff like that, I think is really beneficial. Um, I just noticed that more people have to come back for those services,
Okay.
which makes me think, okay, well, if I have to keep coming back, is it really super beneficial? Right? Where something like Psych K or brain spotting, um, I'm noticing that you don't need as many treatments. Usually you only need one, maybe once a year, if that, or every other year. Um, if you think about it in the work of psychedelics, right? If somebody microdoses and they're able to go into thought patterns and feel their emotions, they're going to get 10 years of therapy in one night versus therapy, right? So it's that same modality because it's all connected. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So conscious versus unconscious. Our conscious brain only knows of the now. That's it. Our conscious brain only knows of what we are doing right now. So we are on Zoom having a conversation, and that's all the brain knows, or the conscious brain. Okay. The conscious brain isn't fully developed until 24, 25, 26 age. And that is our reasoning brain. So we'll notice as we get older, we probably won't jump out of an airplane as fast as we would when we were 18. Make sense? Because we can't reason properly. Our unconscious brain knows every single thing. And when I mean like every single thing, it knows and records every word spoken to you, every single thought pattern, every say you looked over to your right and you looked at the time, it will record that you did that as well. Like it literally is a recording system. It remembers everything. Okay. And also it remembers, that's how we can get into past life regression. That's how we can get into, I mean, if you believe in past lives, but past life regression. That's why sometimes if you're in psychedelics or you're doing anything, you can go into past lives, future lives, because your unconscious already knows everything.
That where we get like our deja vus.
Yep. Yeah, and there's more to deja vus, but yes. It's almost like an upgrade. It's like, oh, I'm back to where I need to be. Your unconscious knows literally everything, like the creation of the world. Your unconscious knows, like, it knows everything. It's pretty miraculous. And if we want to take it on a different note of our unconscious, and this is more of a Carl Jung thing, is when we go to sleep at night and we go into our conscious dream states, right? This is the period that we can tap into the collective, because all of our unconscious is tapped into one source. And this gets more quantum, and we won't talk about it into depths, but like one source is creator, all, because we all come from one. So we're here learning our own experiences. So I want to go into really quick our unconscious. If we think of it as, well, our unconscious, think of it as a computer system. Everything in our universe and our world is in a context of a computer system. It's all vibration, right? Everything is vibration. Our molecules, the energy, everything is vibration in this world, whether it be depending on the frequency of vibration that you're getting, okay? So I want to go into looping patterns. So for instance, your computer system, say it's thinking, right? And it's making that circle because it's constantly thinking about something. You've seen that before, right? Okay, so for instance, Jasmine, you're out to lunch with a girlfriend and you say to your girlfriend, hey, I just met with this guy that does insurance. And you're like, man, I forgot his name. And your girlfriend says, I know exactly who you're talking about. She goes, oh, I don't remember his name either. And then 3 days later, you're sitting on the toilet and you're like, Bob, right? It's because in the back of your brain, it's still doing the looping pattern to try to find its learning. It doesn't stop. So we're not conscious of it, but it's still doing that. Okay. So imagine everything from being a child, growing up now, genealogically, past life, all of the circle loopings that you have going on back there that need their full learning. And that's how patterns and looping things happen in our life. Does that make sense? Okay. This is usually when you have people have, I call their great awakening. And this is where you'll see midlife crisis. You'll see a catastrophe happen in somebody's life. Whatever it is that is a lot to somebody, this is really their great awakening, because the little looping patterns has happened so much that these looping patterns are now getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're in it right now in the world. You can see it front stage and center, what's happening. Right? So it's the same context within ourselves. Does that make sense?
What do you mean you can see it? Like, what would be your indications of it?
So there's always power struggles. There's always dividing. It's happened over and over, but it seemed like it was smaller looping. And now all of a sudden the world is like this huge ass loop of segregation, power struggles, wars. Like it's so enormous right now. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But back then, maybe it was a smaller looping. It wasn't as extreme.
Meaning our collective unconscious is working to close the loop.
And if we don't close it, Mother Earth will close it. Hence, Atlantis and all those things, right? Yeah. Um, a lot of us are waking up. A lot of conversations I have, like I just had coffee with somebody that I haven't seen in like 3 years, and the conversation that came out of his mouth, I was like, holy cow. Like people are waking up.
Like, as in, you wouldn't have expected him to talk about that before?
No, very, very business savvy man. So it was very interesting having that conversation. Sorry, I have a fly bugging me. Yeah. So, okay, conscious versus unconscious. I'm making sure that I'm going through all of the patterning. Okay, so there's levels to our unconscious. So when we take on things, there's stages. So it's usually from 0 to 3, 3 to 7, 7 to 14, I think it is, or 6, I don't know, somewhere around there. And then it's like 14 to 21, and then 21 to 32. And I go in when I do chakra classes, I go into where those imprints are in our chakras. Like our root chakra is, I think it's 0 to 7, where a lot of those imprints happen, which makes sense because it's safety, security, our finances, all of those things are lined into the root chakra. So it makes complete sense. I think that I touched all on the unconscious. Lori, you were on the call on Monday. Is there anything that maybe I'm not going over that you picked up on? I can't hear you, hon.
No, I'm not muted. Maybe it turns down. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but it's kind of muffled.
Your microphone sounds like it's coming from
Yeah.
somewhere else, like a Bluetooth device or something.
It's sitting on something that's
Oh,
not
okay.
now. Yeah,
There you
it was
go.
sitting on a piece of rubber. Sorry, on the little stand.
We hear you good now.
Um, on your unconscious, like when you're sleeping, do you ever listen to anything?
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
I do that a lot. So should I stop or should I just keep?
No, no. Think about your unconscious as a trap door. Okay. And a lot of times it's not going to open up and tell you things because it's going to flood your nervous system, right?
Mm.
And we're all going to be like schizophrenic people, like with all of these things coming up, right?
Yeah.
So when we're in like plant medicine or a hypnotic state or any of that, right? A lot of times it feels comfortable and it will open up and it will start to share little things for you to work through. It doesn't mean that those things are 100% accurate or truthful. It's just a story it's describing so you can work through the story, okay?
Mm.
So I say that because sometimes in medicine or psychedelics, things will come up that aren't the truth, but it's a story that you have to go into.
Mhm.
What I've started doing is saying to my unconscious before I go to bed, unconscious, will you open up and show me some things that I need to see and start working through and helping me to compartmentalize them in the areas that I need to for my growth and expansion? And so it will start opening up little things. If you can remember things that are coming up as you're dreaming, there's a purpose around that. It's because it wants you to start becoming conscious of those things.
Okay.
Okay. So now we can take those concepts and be conscious of it, right? And say, okay, now we're going to start to kind of dissect those realities of what's coming up. Now, I'm glad that you brought this up because this is actually really crucial.
It's like listening to Carl Jung or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So our written word, okay? I'm going to go into the gospel now, or the Bible. Our written word seals the deal. What I mean by that is, say we're constantly having a journal and we're constantly writing negative things in our journal. We are actually solidifying that in our unconscious. We are implanting negative belief patterns and negative thought patterns. And that's not what we want to do. Now, if we're writing them down because we want to be conscious of them and then change them, that's a different pattern. So if we write it down saying, I had the feeling that I'm unworthy, what am I learning from this? We're changing the narrative to become positive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're just constantly writing bad things, we're implanting that. That's not what we want. Right? At least that's not what I want.
So, like, if you are writing something bad, so I was doing this because a mentor had taught me to do it a couple years ago. She's not no longer part of my circle. Um, write and burn, like,
Yeah. So let me explain that. When we write and burn, this is what we do. And I used to do that as well before I knew any better.
mm-hmm.
So when we write and burn, that energy is still there. Okay. So we have to speak our voice. So for instance, and we're going to go through this with the aligned body classes on Monday, is that say there's something you really need to get off your chest and speak it. You can write a letter out stating how you feel, how it made you feel, be a victim in it, like do everything, right? And then you speak it out loud. You speak your truth out loud, but you speak it to the person. So for an example, and this is like a whole different segue, and we'll get into this another day. But for instance, say I see patterns showing up with my husband that are the same patterns that my mom did when I was little. I would write a letter to my mom being a victim, like saying, by you doing this, this is how it made me feel. These are my emotions, all of the stuff out on paper. And then I would say to my mom, hey, mom, I want to read you something, but don't take it personal. I just need to read it to get it out of my field, right? And you would actually read it to the person.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if the person says, I don't want you reading it to me, or the person is deceased or whatever it is, you would ask their spirit if you can speak it to them. And if their spirit says no, then you say, okay, well, I'm still speaking it on my behalf. You can listen or not listen, and it's their choice to listen or not listen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what you do is you write it, then you speak it out loud. So it's working with your voice. And then if you want to burn it after that, go for it or throw it away or whatever. But now you got it out of your field.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes
Does
more
that make
sense.
sense?
Yeah.
And in the Bible, Jesus speaks on this. But we have taken the Bible in a whole different context than what it was actually meant for,
Yeah.
right? The Bible is actually a lot of quantum mechanics that are there to teach you your device system. And we'll get it. I mean, we can go into that later too. We can do classes around that. But that's what it's there for. So my one mentor said to me, and it just made such sense, is if you think of in the Bible how they say the low-hanging fruit or the high-hanging fruit, right? If we have a problem in our, if you want to think about it as a family tree, if we have problem, I'll just use me for an example. You guys know the situation with Kevin and my son, right? That's low-hanging fruit if you think about it, because as a family tree, it's my grandparents aren't alive anymore. So it would be my mother and father and my siblings. And then below that would be my son and all of that, right? Because it's below, right? So if I'm having problems with the low-hanging fruit, it's because there's a pattern in my high-hanging fruit that I haven't dealt with, right? So for instance, I realize a pattern with my son and his wife, which is the same pattern that happened with my mom, my brother, and his wife, but I am now replacing my mother. Right? And I'm like, oh, I see that pattern now. Well, now I have to write a letter to my brother for everything that I felt that he did to me and my mother, but then also with the perspection of, but now I understand as an adult why these things happened. And I literally have to read him the letter. And the minute that that energy and looping pattern is resolved, that looping pattern with my son, my daughter-in-law, and myself will be done. There will be no more, and it will not be passed down to my grandchildren. Does that make sense? That's a whole different topic we can get on, but yeah. Okay.
What would you call that? Is that like family stuff?
So some people call it like family constellation work.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a mix of, did I ever tell you the story of me walking with Jesus 3 years ago? Okay.
No?
So I was in a beautiful ceremony and Jesus showed up and I walked with him for 12 hours. And he told me that I am to create a church. And I said, "You're crazy." And he's like, "No, you're going to create a church." So anyway, 3 years projected forward. Here I am in the studio and it looks as though I'm creating a church. And it's not a church like you would think of, but it's what he told me back then is it's not going to be a church. It's for people to understand all the concepts that I tried to teach them. And you're going to be doing that. And in your language. And I'm like, okay. And so now all the dots are coming together. And so with that, I had coffee a month ago with somebody brand new. and had a conversation with her, and she was like, hey, you have to come with me to a Wednesday event. And I was like, sure. So I went with her to the event. Well, this lady teaches quantum Bible, which Jesus told me that I was to learn this, but I didn't understand. So I literally went to the class, and she's training on quantum Bible, which is all scientific, right? Of our brain, our computer system, like that's how she teaches. And so I'm going on a tangent, but there's a reason around it, I promise, is that what I'm realizing is the family constellation work, there's a bit and piece of that that is also all within the Bible, but it's also all within quantum mechanics, and it's also with somatic work. It's literally it all coming together in one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are such beautiful pieces that all come together. So it's like quantum Bible class, if you want to think about it that way. But when you do deeper in the work, like if you go deeper to work with somebody one-on-one, they would go more into constellation with quantum. The Bible is just there to teach us the quantum physics within our body. It's not telling us, well, it is telling us how to do things. Okay. That was a lot of info. Lori, does that help you better today?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.